Hey guys, welcome to the Killing the Tea podcast. This is Gare,
And Kate.
and we are going to be discussing all things chills, thrills, and kills. Kate and I are going to be talking about our favorite books, TV shows, and movies that are in the thriller or crime fiction genre, as well as some reading habits and other items related to how we met on Bookstagram that will fit in with this podcast. So, thank you so much for joining us, and we hope that you have fun and get totally terrified.
Well, I was trying to think of an icebreaker and I couldn't think of any. And so then I just Googled one while I was so I didn't just stare at myself and fixate on my hair. I was like, maybe I'll just Google some icebreakers. And I mean, I kind of think this one is kind of interesting. What
Okay.
would you do first if you were invisible for a day?
Oh my God, if I was invisible for a day, I'd probably what would I do if I were invisible for a day? Huh. I don't know. I would probably find people that I don't find trustworthy and
Yeah,
hang around them and see if they talk shit about me.
that's a good one.
What would you do?
I feel like I would like break in, well, not break in, go into some like bank or financial institution and send myself a shit ton of money.
Oh, we can do illegal then.
Oh, yeah, of course. Of
Oh,
course.
okay. Then
Of
yeah, I'd probably
course.
do that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably do that too. Yeah. I would definitely send myself, not just me though. I would also be kind of like a
There you go.
vigilante and send a
Yes.
bunch of money to myself,
Yeah.
um, and the people that I love, and also charities.
And I was also going to say I would be Robin Hood. I'd go take it from someone who didn't need it and
100%.
probably
Donald
deserve to lose it.
Donald Trump would have no money when I was done with him.
There we go. We
Yeah.
would have like sent it to each other, to ourselves, to our
Mm-hmm.
families.
Yeah. Yep. I would have sent all of his money to everybody and their mother.
Literally everybody.
We
Yeah.
also have kind of an announcement corner
Oh yeah, you're right.
because we started off really strong when we started recording the podcast. It was the end of the August.
August, I
Okay,
think.
we're just gonna go with that if we both guessed it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then for 3 months we were good, and then holidays happened, and we each started having ailments, and
Yes.
so there have been a couple of weeks that we've had to take off here and there.
Mm-hmm.
I apparently now have vertigo, which is super fun and exciting.
So
Um,
cool.
better than my hypochondriac mind convincing myself that I had a brain tumor or a
Right.
blood clot or something wrong with my heart. But yeah, I have vertigo. So we took last week off.
Yeah. And
um,
I was like, what was wrong with me? Oh, my hair is what was wrong with me.
you've had, I think we've had you had a stomach bug or food
Yep.
poisoning.
There was the assassination attempt, as Tyler calls it.
Yep.
And
Migraine.
yeah, I've had migraines before. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
We're just weak little introverts who just sit on our
occasionally shit
couches and read.
happens. Yeah, occasionally shit happens when you just try to stay at home and take care of yourself. But um basically that's kind of what people are going to notice now is we're only going to be having one episode a week now.
Yeah.
We'll
We
still be
also talk
recording.
forever. So,
Yeah, I mean, we're still going to be recording. I think maybe the goal or what we're going to be aiming for, who knows if we'll actually do it, is trying to have one episode a week, but it's going to be a full episode instead of one long episode cut into two each week.
mhm.
So that way we will be prepared if something else
Yeah,
happens. Um,
because it will.
maybe people will be maybe it'll be easier for people to stay up to date too with the podcast because
Hmm.
um it's only once a week. I know
Yeah.
sometimes with other ones too, and I think we're really good at this, but like I used to love like My Favorite Murder, but they
Mm-hmm.
were friends like we are, so they would chit chat for like an hour sometimes before they
Oh
got to
wow.
like their murders and stuff. So sometimes an episode would be like 2 hours long, and it would
Yeah.
take like a week. Like if you drive, 20-30 minutes to work and that's
Right.
when you listen to your podcast, then maybe this will be perfect.
Yeah, I think so.
So learn it, live it, love it.
We need merch now.
Speaking of love,
Oh,
I haven't
that is a
fallen in
good
love.
segue.
I haven't fallen in love in 2 weeks, but
Oh.
um there is something I want to mention on the podcast before it blows up on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Jeffree Star has been posting on Twitter that he is dating somebody in the NFL who is 6'6", and nobody knows who it is. But there's a lot of speculation, and because I'm a nosy little bitch and I love
Yeah.
gossip, it is popping up all over my TikTok. So
Mm-hmm.
I just want to mention that we are going to be following this heavily because I love
Very
nothing
closely.
more than a hot NFL player. Well, he also like
Yeah.
lives in Montana now.
Yeah. I remember because he was hanging out with Ye, wasn't he? Like a couple of years ago in Montana.
I think that was like a rumor. Okay, so that's what one of the things I would do if I were invisible is I would go through Jeffree Star's phone because I heard
Yes.
him on a podcast and like he was like, you would not believe some of your favorite celebrities, like your favorite
Mhm.
rappers and football players and all of this that are sliding into my DMs.
I believe it. Now we know. Now we know a not quite illegal thing that we could do. Go read
Yeah,
celebrities' phones.
I would send myself money. No, I mean,
Oh,
I would send myself money, but I'd also be nosy and go through celebrity phones.
yeah. I want to know. I want to know who's behind it, or like who all of Taylor Swift's songs are about.
Ooh, good one.
So maybe
I would, yeah,
I would
I would make
go
Sarah Michelle
ghost her
Gellar
and
and
Joe.
yeah, I would make Sarah Michelle Gellar and Jacob Elordi follow me on Instagram.
There you go. Oh, that would be even more fun.
Now I need my
I guess I would
invisibility
make
cloak.
Harry Styles follow me.
There you go. That would be a good one.
It'd be a really
Yeah.
good one.
Oh, just
He's
yeah.
been extra spicy on TikTok lately.
Yes, he has.
He's all over
Hmm.
my feed.
Do you think the song Style by Taylor Swift is about him?
Yeah,
Because of like
I
style? Because
do.
she's like, well, it's in the chorus, but I'm like, Taylor, we know you. We don't hear my
I know.
words.
I think it is because she also talks about it him looking like James Dean. He does have James Dean vibes.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a
And
lot of it matches up. And
oh
also
yeah.
Out of the Woods, the bridge where she says, "Remember when you hit the brakes too soon, 20 stitches in the hospital room?"
Mm-hmm.
Apparently that's documented that she and Harry were on a snowmobile and he hit the brakes too soon and flew over the edge of it and had to get 20
Oh.
stitches. So apparently Out of
Oh.
the Woods is about Harry and like he's talked about it even.
Ugh, she makes it seem like it was such a toxic romance.
I know. I
I mean,
mean,
I guess I could
with
kind of see
him,
it.
she's actually his are all nice. Like Harry and Tom Hiddleston and Taylor Lautner are the three that everyone jokes like they don't get hated on, but all the other ones do.
I'm just glad she never dated Jacob Elordi because that would make me sad.
I know.
Hmm.
I don't think she's gonna
Or Henry
steal him
Cavill.
anytime soon.
No, she'd be like, you can have him, Gare. You,
She's like,
you and your two
I've got
weeks
my
of
London
Virgo.
boy.
So, speaking of toxic love,
I was gonna say we do have another love segue.
yeah. So Valentine's Day is coming up, but we're not going to celebrate like normal people celebrate Valentine's Day. This is not
Why
going to
would we
be
ever?
Colleen Hoover corner, as much as I love Colleen Hoover.
Yeah.
We were thinking of toxic, twisted love stories. So
Mm-hmm.
thrillers that kind of deal with toxic relationships, messed up situations people find themselves in with relationships, stalkers, obsession, all of that good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, how many do you have? How many did you
Oh yeah, we
find?
didn't even check in. I chose five, but I definitely could have more. So
I have six.
Okay.
with an honorable mention.
Nice. We'll just
So
roll with it.
we'll just roll with it. Well, you know what I was thinking is the reason I like kind of came up with this idea is because my honorable mention, I'll just go first instead of last this time. Um, I am so excited to reread the book Valentine by Tom Savage
Mm-hmm.
around Valentine's Day on, you know, this month. So I was like, oh, that would be like kind of fun because it's like a Valentine's Day theme, but it's a
Yeah.
thriller. It deals with stalking and obsession and all of this fun stuff. So I was like, that would be kind of fun if we just were like, hey,
Yeah.
here's some of the fucked up love stories we like, you know, because nothing is trickier and dickier than good old fashioned love.
You're not wrong.
I'm not wrong.
You're not
It's
wrong.
either tricks or dicks, you know, like it's either like, oh, here's just
Or a
a
little bit
one
of both.
a little bit of both. Like here's like I'm in a, you know, one night of fueled passion, or it's like I'm gonna trick you and be like, hey, you know, you might end up with me
Yeah.
for the rest of your life and you're surprised by it. So trickier and dickier than love.
That's gonna be the episode title. People are gonna be like, what?
Yeah, tricks and
Like, I thought this was
dicks.
about like books normally.
I think they listened enough to know that there's
I
always like
think so too.
some sort of sexual component or innuendo that's mentioned
Right.
in at least one episode because listen, we talk about books and we have book boyfriends and we have,
Mm.
you know, the adaptations and everything and there's actors and Harry and Jacob and there's just, you know,
Actors and Harry and Jacob. I mean, what more do you want, people? I
yeah,
guess we could talk
tricks and
about
dicks.
women. Maybe that's the one thing that we don't talk about.
I
Wrong
think
podcast.
I think all women deserve better
Well,
and
yeah.
and are underrated
Mm-hmm.
because I was actually talking about this with a friend
Mm-hmm.
where there's a trope in thrillers right now where it's like if the man cheats, it's kind of like almost like a second chance love story of him to like try to redeem himself and like help the woman put her life back together again, which is so
Mm-hmm.
stupid. But if
So
a woman
stupid.
she either cheats or when she does cheat, it's like she cheated and she's doing something deceitful and horrible that's gonna like
Right.
create a cyclone in a thriller.
Yeah.
Or if the man does cheat, it's not like, oh, he's a piece of shit. It's like, oh, he cheated and he should be forgiven. But the woman that he cheated with is crazy, or his wife goes crazy.
Yes.
So all women deserve better,
You're not,
especially in
you're right.
thrillers.
You're right. Again, of course.
So that's what I have to say about women on the podcast. Be
Now we've
respectful,
talked about it.
show the women in your life all the love that they deserve, and let's change some of these stereotypes in fiction so all of your babies that are growing up to be women don't have shitty people to look up to.
Amen.
Amen.
Period. End of sentence. But if you want to talk about not being stereotypical,
Ooh.
I have a really good recommendation. And that is Stone Cold Fox by
Uh,
Rachel Collar Croft. It doesn't come out until February 14th, so add it to your list for Valentine's Day. But I just recently read the arc and was obsessed with it. And the description is, well, first it says a compelling debut novel about an ambitious woman who, after a lifetime of conning alongside her mother, wants to leave her dark past behind and marry the heir to one of the country's wealthiest families. Like any enterprising woman, Bee knows what she's worth and is determined to get all she deserves. It just so happens that what she deserves is to marry rich. After a lifetime of forced instruction in the art of swindling men by her mother, Bee wants nothing more than to escape her shadow, close the door on their sordid past, and disappear safely into old money domesticity. When Bee finds her final mark in the perfectly dull blue-blooded Colin, she's ready to deploy all her tricks one last time. The challenge isn't getting the ring, but rather the approval of Colin's family and everyone else in their tax bracket, particularly his childhood best friend, Gail. Going toe to toe with Gail isn't a threat to an expert like B, but what begins as an amusing cat and mouse game quickly develops into a dangerous chase. As the truth of B's past threatens to come roaring out, she finds herself racing against the clock to pass the finish line before everything is exposed. And
Damn.
it is so good. It challenges like a lot of our stereotypes about marriage while also kind of pointing out how a lot of people don't even really have fulfilling marriages, and like sometimes they are business deals, but like it's only okay that it's a business deal if it's between rich people, not a rich person and a less rich person. So
Mm-hmm.
it like kind of looks at the wealth divide. It looks at messy relationships with mothers and daughters, and she's just a stone cold fox.
I can't wait to read that. I've heard nothing but good things about it.
I loved it so much. There were so many moments where I was like so sure that like everything was about to fall apart for her. And the suspense and the tension of multiple scenes, you're like, okay, is it about to go wrong? Is it about to go wrong?
Uh-huh.
It's really good.
Damn. I also
Yeah.
love to read about like messed up relationships because the more I see people
Mm-hmm.
ending up in relationships and marriages,
Yeah.
they can get dark. And a lot of people do have messed up relationships and think that they don't know it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you on that one.
Yep.
In all
Yep.
kinds of ways.
Yeah, it's the people that, well, the thing that I like about this too, the synopsis to this is that it seems like, I think with like a lot of like wealthy people, especially in a storyline like that, it's all
Mm-hmm.
about appearance. And you
Mm-hmm.
will notice that in like any relationship across the board, no matter your like how much money you have in your bank account, but it's always the
Yeah.
people that are like posting on Facebook, the people that like don't have to post on social media or like prove to the world how happy they are the ones that
Yes.
are like really happy, but the ones that like throw it in your face are the ones that are kind of like really fucked up.
Compensating.
Don't get me wrong, like if you post something for like an anniversary or something, then like fine. But if it's like, oh my god, it's Tuesday and I love my husband, like, no, you probably just beat him over the head with like a frying pan. Or found
Hannah
out he
Burn.
or found out he like fucked your neighbor.
Your neighbor's husband.
Yeah.
um Hannah Burner, who's one of my favorite podcasters, has this joke about the more sentences there are in the caption of an Instagram post that's just about yourself as a couple, the sooner you're gonna break up. And so she like said it on her podcast a few months ago, and now it's happened with a couple of people where we've all been like, look at all these sentences, and then they break up a couple months later. So
Oh yeah. Like they're
we
trying
agree
to
with
like
you.
convince.
Yep.
It's not.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like when you like, I mean, not that you should, not that I'm like pushing people to put themselves in this position, but it's kind of like when you meet a guy and he's like, I never cheat on my wife, or I never cheat on like, no. If they say they never do it, then they
Like,
do it all
why?
the time. And if they
Yeah.
don't, like, if they just act nervous and they don't have to tell you that they never do it, then like, you're
Yeah.
obviously, there's something about you that makes them want to, venture
Yeah.
out
I
of,
would be like, why was that on your mind? Why did
yeah,
that come up for you?
yeah. Like if you're like, oh, he's like, oh, you dropped your purse. I never cheat on my wife. No.
Yeah, exactly. Oh.
Wow. That sounds good. Um,
It's so good.
I can't wait to read it and talk to you about it
I
and
know.
order and everything. Um, Speaking of unconventional relationships though,
Nice.
and ones that don't even try to appear to be perfect,
Uh-huh.
my first one is The Wives by Taryn Fisher,
Mm-hmm.
because I liked that this wasn't like a cheating thriller and something of that nature. Um, because this one is actually about a woman who her husband is a polygamist. So Thursday's husband Seth has two other wives. She's never met them and she doesn't know anything about them, but she's the one who agreed to this unusual arrangement because she's crazy about him. Although one day Thursday finds something that tells a very different and horrifying story about the man she married. And what follows is a twisted, shocking thriller.
Wow. I haven't read that one. It's been on
Yeah,
my to read list for who knows how long.
it's so good. And it's like such a
Now I want to
good,
read
like,
it.
unhinged woman, but like in the best way possible and not like a
Yes.
stereotype.
Yes.
Um, the synopsis that I got off Goodreads is like a little different than the one that was like pitched to me when it was like
Okay.
read, but basically because that was like very generic, so like to kind of give you a broader outlook without spoiling
Yeah.
anything, it's basically like she find like there's like an arrangement where like none of the women, like none of the three wives can really communicate with one another, know who each other is, like they have like Thursday, Monday, or whatever names, and she finds something that gives her like a clue as to who one of the other women is, and she gets like
Ooh.
curious, like what is she like compared to me, what is their
Ooh.
relationship like compared to like when he comes to my apartment every
Mm-hmm.
Thursday and stuff like that. So jaw-dropping, shocking, fantastic, and the ending is nuts. So that is
That
my,
sounds amazing.
it's so good, I loved it. I like still like remember like just not wanting to just not wanting to like basically like put this book down at any moment when I was like reading it.
Wow.
And it was like something I read during the week. So,
Mm.
and back when I was in an office.
Yeah.
So that was a bummer, but I just absolutely loved that one.
That sounds so good. Did you
Mhm.
watch Big Love on HBO?
Um, I think that I started it, but I like couldn't
Mm-hmm.
like it didn't start off with like a bang like The Affair
No.
does or something.
Yep.
So because it's like more character driven, I think like at that point when I tried to start watching it, I was like, man, I don't know if I can really get into
Mm-hmm.
this. But
Yeah.
um
It was fascinating. I remember I watched it like it was like again one of those first shows I binged in college, like when I got
mhm,
access to HBO, and it
yeah.
was like a show that had all the seasons out already, and it is like so fascinating when you do have the dynamics of multiple people in a relationship with one husband, and it did pick up and it got more fun because it was like the women kind of like Handmaid's Tale, like you have moments where
Mhm.
you're like, oh, they really love it. The women, even like the wives are really close, they have their own like personal relationships together, and then sometimes in other scenes you're like, fuck you, I can't believe you did that to her. So like so much tension in that show.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what I found interesting about The Wives is that
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't your typical polygamous relationship. It was almost like in between like polygamy. I don't even know if they call themselves polygamous in the book, to be honest with you, because
Okay.
it's a different like it's a different arrangement.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that I liked about it was the fact that like these three women do not know like how he is when he's with the other women, what their
Right.
relationships are like. They've never met. They don't know who, you know what I mean? So like it's kind of like you could be going to the hairdresser and like find out years later that your hairdresser is one of his other wives
That's
and you just never
true.
know it. You know, so it has that like mystery element and it's almost like an
Mm-hmm.
arrangement of, you know, when you like read a thriller or you watch a thriller and it's like someone's cheating and like you think that the shit's gonna hit the fan and then you find out that like the wife's like, I've known about his girlfriend for years.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like one of those, they're not all dating and they're not all like in love or harmonious, but like
Mm-hmm.
it's like an arrangement like, oh my God, this guy's so hot. I love him. He treats me so well. But like I also know that he's got like two other chicks bouncing around
Yeah.
through town, you know?
The reason we know it's fiction is because the guy's actually hot. Because in real life, no man who makes these cults are hot. Well, this isn't a cult, but
Mm-mm.
it's always like ugly men that somehow convince multiple women to marry them.
Yeah. Yeah. And with this, it's kind of like I like that it's not like that cult aspect of polygamy
Yeah.
because like it's more believable. Like if Henry Cavill came up to me and was like, okay, like I'm gonna see you on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, but like I'm gonna be with my other bitches and hoes and dudes and bros and all this other shit like the rest of the week, I'd be like, okay, cool, like makes
Go
sense.
for it.
Fine.
You're like, I can have me time,
That's
and
exactly
then
it.
I can have us time.
I was reading it and I was like, this actually was like, if somebody approached me with this situation, it would be kind of perfect because like I don't like to feel suffocated by like friends or lovers or anything. Like if you expect me to
Same.
spend too much time with you, like, oh my God, get away from me. We're over, done,
It
blocked,
gives me
deleted. Like
the
I'm
ick immediately.
yes. If you're suffocating me, like I will. It's kind of like when I argue, it's the same thing. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you back me into a corner, I'm just gonna start saying the most nasty things and the meanest things about you to get you like the hell away from me. Like I will go, I will seem unhinged and crazy. And it's the same thing if you suffocate me. If you
Yeah.
suffocate me, I will be like master manipulator and like, and I everybody knows that. And by
Yeah.
everybody I mean TikTok, because all I get are those things about like, hey,
TikTok now.
you really do. Like all I get on my TikTok are like those, hey, like is this guy pissing you off? You want to be toxic? Like just say to him something to the effect of like, I'm not gonna argue with somebody that I lowered my standards to date in the first place.
Yes. Yes. I am here for that.
So yeah, that's my pick.
Well, I have another one that is kind of unconventional, but definitely still applies to messy relationships. What happened this time? Are you just laughing at
I
me?
was just looking at my list and I'm like, all of mine are literally the most unconventional, fucked up relationships.
No shit, you're right.
All of
That
them
is kind of
are.
what we so our segue is like going to be the same thing every
No, like I'm
time.
saying, like, we're not just like your typical stalker or like cheating stories. Like,
Yeah.
all of mine have some sort of like very specific thing in the relationship. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Me too. So it is kind of the theme
yeah.
of the night. But I read this one this year and loved it so much. And it's called One Little Word by Audra McElroy. Allegra Hudson was murdered. An anonymous source drops the note into Madeline Barton's lap exactly when she needs it most. The recently widowed single mother is struggling to make ends meet as a freelance reporter, and covering the mysterious death of a local best-selling author and legend, Allegra Hudson, could be the career-launching story of her dreams. While working with Allegra's grieving husband, Connor, Madeline plunges down the rabbit hole of Allegra's privileged life, and the deeper she digs, the more dirt she finds. A conniving best friend, a stalker ex-boyfriend, and a marriage in shambles. The closer Madeline gets to the truth, the murkier the waters become. Her sources, looming presence, and constant meddling in her investigation, paired with her growing bond with Connor over their shared grief, have blinded her to the facts, but they won't explain why Allegra Hudson's life feels so familiar to her. Only one thing is certain: Madeline can trust no one. One Little Word is a deliciously clever game of cat and mouse with a completely unexpected twist. So stuff starts to happen
Damn.
with the guy that she is investigating his wife's murder, and she
Sounds really
knows it
good.
shouldn't start to happen.
I
It's
added it to
really
my wish
really
list.
good, and I interviewed Audra about it, so I'll link that in the show notes too.
Yeah, this sounds really good. I
I think you would love
um
it.
I went to add it to my wish list and it said that like her books are compared to like Alfred Hitchcock films.
Yes. Yep. Very
So that sounds
Hitchcockian.
very good.
It's so good.
Yeah, that sounds
I
really
burned
good.
through it.
Damn.
And she's really sweet.
I've never heard of that book either, so or the author. So
Yeah.
mad props
She's
to
really
you.
sweet. I love her. We still talk a lot on Instagram.
Oh, okay. I'll have to
Yeah.
follow her and then order her book.
She has amazing hair and she
It
does her
sounds
own
really good.
hair.
Ah, I love that.
Like does dimension highlights on her own. I'm like, you are amazing.
That's the best.
Yeah.
That is the best. Yeah, it sounds really good. And
It's
it's under
great.
300 pages.
Yeah, it's just really fun and there's no fluff. Just
We love that.
suspense and
Just
sexiness.
thrills, chills, kills, and
Dollar
dicks.
bills. I mean, I'm sure there's money somewhere in the book.
Oh my God, we're crazy. I love it.
We are.
Um, well, speaking of people that we love in fantastic hair,
Hmm.
mm, there's a certain gentleman named
Ooh,
Christopher
gentlemen.
Rice,
Yes.
and one of my favorite stories. And I'm dying to reread this book, and I have to reread it, maybe in February for my
Mm-hmm.
Twisted Love marathon. Um, The Snow Garden. Excuse me. The Snow Garden is one of my favorite stories because it deals with crazy shit, college campus, and a little bit of a twist when it comes to the love romance aspect in the
Nice.
relationship. Um, I'm going to read all of it because these words are just like the keywords in this synopsis are just
Uh-huh.
fantastic. But The Snow Garden by Christopher Rice is a shocking death, exposes dangerous forces of seduction, obsession, and vengeance lurking beneath the surface of a prestigious New England university. It is more than just the late November weather that has cast a chill over the campus of Atherton University. When the wife of respected professor Eric Eberman is killed in a tragic accident, his secret student lover, Randall Stone, fears the professor tried to avert career suicide by committing homicide. Or do the dead woman's haunting last words point to an even more damning crime? Fearing the truth, Randall digs into his lover's hidden history, but what he finds draws him and everyone he cares for into a dark dance of sexual manipulation, twisted retribution, and murderous rage where nothing is as it seems. Bum, bum, bum. I loved that book.
That sounds amazing. You've told me about it before. I just haven't read it yet.
Yes, it's one of the books that I think I read it when it came out. Because it's his second book. So I read A Density of Souls first. And I read this
Mm-hmm.
one and it was completely different than A Density of Souls. Like it has that more thriller feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but for a book that came out and I want to say 2002, 2003,
Mm-hmm.
um, for a book that came out then to have a book that is a student and their professor in a relationship, but to also have it be a man cheating on his wife with another man who is also his student, to have that
Yes.
aspect would be juicy now, but to do it in like 2002 was unheard of because it was like it's not done for shock value, and like the way that he writes
Mm-hmm.
the book, it's like nope, this is actually the normal thing. So like the rest
Yeah.
of the book is going to be what's like insane, but like he was just so
Yes.
much like normalized how much shit like that happens.
Yeah.
And, it adds a little juice and a little spice. Like we've all had a teacher.
Oh, we're gonna have to read Tampa.
Where I don't know about that. We've all had a teacher that like if they would have been like stay after class, you would have been like, I'll be home at 8.
I'm trying to think. I went to a very, very, very small high school though.
I
So
did too. Did you have any in college? Even like a teacher's assistant or anything?
yeah, yeah, probably teacher's assistant. Yeah.
There you go. Same thing.
There we go.
Probably less risky, actually.
Yeah.
Mine
Way
was like
less
in high
risky.
school, and if anybody went to high school with me, they probably had the same. It's probably the same pick
I
for
know who the
everybody
other
else.
girls thought, but you know what? It was you would have liked him. He was Kyle Chandler-esque,
Oh
but
yes,
it was not my I didn't it tall and dark hair is not typically my vibe.
yeah,
I don't know why.
more for me.
Yes, that's why. I've got to leave some for you.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely would have went after the Kyle Chandler vibe.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I only have 2 episodes left of Ginny and Georgia, and then I'm moving
Yeah.
on to Bloodline.
You're gonna love it.
Yeah, I'm super pumped.
There's a lot of Kyle in it.
Oh, there's there's not in Mayor of Kingstown, although I stopped
Yeah.
watching it.
Did you watch all of it? Or did you say you did stop?
I had to stop. It was too dark for me.
I know. I just haven't
I
had
love
the
Nordic
interest.
noir. Karen
Once you
Slaughter.
said that, I was like, I don't think I'm gonna, because like I don't watch tons of TV right now. And so I was just like, if it was too dark for you, I'm not even gonna spend my time on it.
Yeah.
Because I typically don't want to just be like sad
It's
either.
realistic. So like I'll give
Yeah,
them that. Which is usually like my defense when a book
I
is
know.
a little dark. But it's realistic, but like it's almost like I probably could read it if it was a book. But if it like seeing it on screen, it was like just like not it for me.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to like violence against women. And I'm just like,
Mm.
you know,
That
props
gets
to
hard.
you for showing people like this is actually what happens to women and this
Mhm.
is what happens to people when you deal with like the underbelly of the crime world. But
Yeah.
no, no, not a fan.
Yeah.
Nope,
Ginny and
that's it.
Georgia's probably a lot happier overall.
It's like Gilmore Girls, One Tree Hill, and Desperate Housewives
You
all
said,
combined.
yeah,
Yeah,
it sounds great. I
it's
haven't
really
tried
good.
it yet.
There was just a cliffhanger on the episode that I watched last night, and I was like, I have to go to bed to like for my sanity.
Oh, I
Um,
hate that.
but I was like, holy shit. So that's what I'm gonna be doing. I'm gonna be having some. I think they're called bibimen, but they're like a like Asian noodle.
Mm,
It's almost like a
okay.
ramen noodle, but it's like a sweet and spicy sauce, and you can have it cold or hot.
Ooh,
Props to my friend Cindy for sending them to me, but that's what I'm
switching
gonna
it
do.
up. Nice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That sounds yummy. I had my couscous veggie bowl before this. It was good though.
What veggies did you put in it?
Brussels sprouts and sweet potatoes.
Oh,
And then it
nice.
and then it has a tahini maple sauce that you drizzle over it that really makes it yummy.
In the summer, I like to do cherry tomatoes
Mm,
and mozzarella
yeah,
and do like a caprese salad because you can
that
have it
sounds
cold
so
and it's
good.
so good. It's so good.
Yeah, I
Hmm.
love mozzarella. I love
Oh
cheese
my
in
God, I do
general.
too. I know, me too. So
That's
good.
the problem. I could eat it for every meal. Well,
I
in
pretty much
every
do.
meal.
I pretty much do. So still don't see the
I do
problem.
pretty often.
Yeah, it's delicious.
Yeah, it's the
Oh,
best.
I love cheese.
Speaking of
Cheese and murder.
addictions.
Oh my God. A seamless segue.
uh the other one that I just the other one I just had to talk about because I read it recently is Daisy Jones and the Six.
Ooh.
And there's love all over the place in this one. But a gripping novel about the whirlwind rise of an iconic 1970s rock group and their beautiful lead singer, revealing the mystery behind their infamous breakup. Everyone knows Daisy Jones and the Six, but nobody knows the real reason why they split at the absolute height of their popularity until now. Daisy is a girl coming of age in LA in the late 60s, sneaking into clubs on the Sunset Strip, sleeping with rock stars, and dreaming of singing at the Whiskey A Go Go. The sex and drugs are thrilling, but it's the rock and roll she loves the most. By the time she's 20, her voice is getting noticed, and she has the kind of heedless beauty that makes people do crazy things. Another band getting noticed is the Six, led by brooding Billy Dunn. On the eve of their first tour, his girlfriend Camilla finds out she's pregnant, and with the pressure of impending fatherhood and fame, Billy goes a little wild on the road. Daisy and
Oh.
Billy cross paths when a producer realizes the key to supercharged success is to put the two together. What happens next between the two will become the stuff of legend. There are a lot of relationships happening in the book
Hmm.
that are I'm trying to figure out exactly how to say all of this without spoiling anything as well. It examines romantic relationships and friendships is kind of what it examines through the entire book,
Mhm.
and also just has different versions of love and like what it can mean. And then it's also just like a really cool period piece that's loosely inspired by Fleetwood Mac.
I love that. And
And
the show comes
if you
out in
don't,
March.
yeah. And if you somehow didn't know that Reese is producing a show for it, it comes out on Amazon on March 3rd.
Mhm.
It
That'll
was
be
so
fun.
good. I cried in that one too. Taylor Jenkins is 2 for 2 in making me cry.
I want to read it in March before the show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
It's like part of my goal.
I'm excited for you to read it
Me too.
because
And
I
I
haven't talked to
fucking
anyone about it.
love Riley Keough.
I know.
I
She
love
was
her so
perfect.
much.
When you
She's
read this
perfect.
book, you'll understand just how perfect she is for this role.
I
They're
know
like,
she's the only one I'm paying attention to, like with the cast,
mm-hmm,
because I don't know if I'm gonna do my own cast with it or not.
mm-hmm.
So she's like the only one that I'm like paying attention to because it's hard not to. But
Yeah,
yeah, I'm super pumped to watch it because I love her and everything she does.
she's so cool.
Speaking of whirlwinds,
Yes.
if you are a fan of Tell Me Lies, but you want something set in 1970s Pittsburgh that's queer and literary, then you should check out These Violent Delights by Micah Niemerever. If I butchered your last name, I'm so sorry, but I love you and your book. Um, so this one is Paul and Julian meet as university freshmen in early 1970s Pittsburgh and are immediately drawn to one another. As a talented artist, Paul is sensitive and agonizingly insecure, incomprehensible to his working class family, and desolate with grief over his father's recent death. Paul sees the wealthy, effortlessly charming Julian as his sole intellectual equal, an ally against the conventional world he finds so suffocating. He idolizes his friends for his magnetic confidence, but as charismatic as he can choose to be, Julian is also volatile and cruel. So, as the friendship spirals into an all consuming intimacy, Paul is desperate to protect their precarious bond, even as it becomes clear that pressures from the outside world are nothing compared to the brutality they are capable of inflicting on one another.
That cover is beautiful.
Cover's beautiful, book is amazing.
And it
Amazing.
said this comparison at the bottom says The Secret History meets Call Me by Your Name.
Yes.
That's a pretty exciting comp.
Yeah. Yeah. And I also like would compare it to Tell Me Lies because do you remember when we were talking
Mm-hmm.
about it and like the book, it's like she kind of doesn't know like why she's like so drawn to him.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like this like really like back and forth toxic romance. Like that's kind of like what this is, but like you see the charm. So it's kind of like as a
Okay.
reader, you're watching and you're like, okay, get your shit
Get
together.
it.
Like, yes, he's hot. Yes, he's charming, but like he's also like a little dangerous and like horrible
Mm-hmm.
for you. And I feel like
Yeah.
everybody like either had a crush or a relationship or something like where you kind of took that risk and it didn't work out because you're young and stupid and you think that you can change the bad boy or the guy who's like an asshole and a sociopath and a narcissist.
Why does it have to be so alluring?
I fall for it all the time.
Yeah.
I think I've dated more toxic people and like had relations with more toxic people than I had like non-toxic people. So that's like when like when like a non-toxic guy came into my life, which I can only think of two people that I dated or like had some sort of relationship with. I honestly can only think of two.
Mm-hmm.
And it was in with like in the span of like a year.
Oh wow.
So it was like douchebag, 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 super nice guy. We broke up. I moved to Boston. Super nice guy. We broke up. I moved back to New York. Douche, 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 douche.
In that specific order.
in that specific order.
Oh,
So, unless you were the person that I dated before I went to Boston or the person that I dated in Boston and you hear this, you're one of those douchebags.
you're the other ones.
You're, it's you. You're the problem. It's you.
This time it
Goodbye.
is not me.
No, it's not. The only problem I
Yeah,
have is like shitty taste in men. This book made me feel a lot
I had
better.
two very weird relationships. And then I've been married most of my all of I was married at that's a good question. I think I was 21
It's so
or
crazy.
22. So,
That's like proof though, because like a lot of people are like, don't get married young, like live your
yeah.
life, like the right one will come along. And like you got married at 21 because you like,
Yeah.
you know, like sometimes you just know when you know.
Yeah, and a lot happened in the first 2 years that we were together,
Mm-hmm.
and we had started therapy together, and like I felt confident in the ability to communicate basically. And I feel like sometimes that's like, if you know you're attracted to the person, you know you like hanging out with them, and then you're like, oh wow, we know how to communicate without like being shitty with each other. It was all of
Yeah.
those things together that made it an easier decision. But there we went through a lot at the beginning.
Yeah. But that's good
So
though.
yeah.
I think as tough as it was in the beginning of your relationship, it shows like how much
Yes.
you like feel for one another and how strongly
Mm-hmm.
you feel that bond because a
Yeah.
lot of people like start off in that honeymoon phase and then they have
Mm-hmm.
issues later on that they either don't deal with or they like
Yeah.
sweep under the rug or can cause their relationship to like blow up and like
Yeah.
end.
Yes.
And you were just kind of like, hey, listen,
Yeah.
let's get some of the shit out of the way and just like live our best lives together forever.
Yeah.
And Tyler
Yeah.
was like, okay, before we do that, let me get a little latte here.
Yes. It that definitely would have been happening.
What do you have today? Was it a Teddy Graham latte? Is that what he had?
Yeah. So it's like
I could like,
graham
yeah,
crackers and honey and
so good.
chocolate.
It looked
Yeah.
so good.
It I still got iced coffee because I'm a hot
Oh
bitch.
yeah.
But I got a honeybee latte, which is honey and cinnamon. And it's
Mm,
honey and cinnamon were meant to be an iced coffee if you haven't had
really?
it before. Yeah.
I'm not a huge cinnamon person, but now that I don't drink anymore, I'm starting to notice that like I don't mind if it's in other things
Mm,
because I probably traumatized myself with like cinnamon whiskey.
yeah. That
Hmm.
one is easy to traumatize yourself with.
Or like I guess I don't mind cinnamon if it's with something else, but like if you're like, oh, do you want this like cinnamon candy? I'll like spit it out and hit you in the forehead with it.
Would you eat a cinnamon roll?
Well, yeah.
Okay, I didn't know. I
Well, I
couldn't.
mean, yeah, because it has like frosting and like other
No, I
things.
agree. I wouldn't eat a cinnamon candy though. So do you mean like red hots?
Yeah, or
Yeah, I
not
wouldn't eat
necessarily
that
red
either.
hots because I think I don't think I would mind red hots now that I don't drink anymore because I don't have that
Uh-huh.
temptation of like cinnamon whiskey. I would
Yeah.
probably enjoy a red hot every now and then. I'm a sucker for Mike and Ike's, like any flavor
Oh yeah.
except for like the original, because now I think the original is boring compared to everything else they have. But all I'm thinking of is I don't know like where you would get them or where you would see them. Probably like the doctor's office or something therapy. I don't know wherever you would go,
Like
but they used to have these like they looked like a mint, but it was
yeah,
cinnamon, and like even the cellophane that it was
red
wrapped in
tin.
was yes.
And then like the red would melt and then it was jagged and would cut your tongue, or that's just me.
Okay, so those are the ones that are like white with the red pinwheel.
Yes.
They used to give those out at Pizza Hut. That's how I remember those when I
Okay.
was like when Pizza Hut was like the shit.
Okay.
The ones I'm thinking of are almost like all like they're all red and it's
Oh,
like
I
a
see.
cinnamon hard candy. But even like the cellophane that it was like wrapped in or like the candy wrapper
Yes.
was like like a red color too. I always thought like I would enjoy one of those, and then every time I put it in my mouth, I regret it.
These.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep,
these look terrible.
they are. They ruin everything, including life.
Including life. Yeah, I would not eat them.
No. But like,
I don't like that
so
kind of cinnamon.
I might try it again now that, so like when I was having my dizzy spells and I didn't know what was going on with me, like I didn't know if it was vertigo, because in my mind it was a blood clot or a brain tumor or
Yeah.
something like tragic. Um,
Yes.
but when I was doing that, I was drinking the Green Mountain K cups that are half decaf and half regular.
Yeah.
But before that, I was drinking the vanilla cinnamon K cups from Good and Gather, which is like the Target brand.
Nice.
Oh my God, it was such good coffee and it smelled
That sounds
so good.
that's what because cinnamon and vanilla are really good together.
Yeah.
I think you probably would like honey and cinnamon in an iced coffee
All I can
because
think
it's
of
a
right now is a
blend.
cinnamon roll, honestly.
Oh my gosh, I make some of the best cinnamon rolls.
Do you?
I'll send you the recipe just in case you want it.
Yeah, I'll do
But
it.
during COVID, I found a recipe that like you can pretty much cook it in an hour and a half, which is pretty fast, but they're amazing. Like Tyler, when I make them, if he like comes downstairs, he's like, I'm gonna eat all of these today. And I'm like, I know. It's
That's
okay.
fine. Do it. Yeah.
It's like you'll
Mm.
survive somehow.
I actually still have the chocolate chip cookie recipe too that I need to try.
Oh my gosh, I made those this weekend. And I
Did
was like, I
you?
wish I could just drive this over to Gare.
Oh my God. Okay, so I'm gonna try to make them this weekend because it's supposed to get down to 30 to 45 below zero here with the wind
That's
chill.
terrible.
What a crock of shit.
I
I'm
know.
still gonna get takeout on Saturday. I don't care. I have been craving this like local place, like upstate New Yorkers who are
Mhm.
by my area. If you ever listen to this, because I don't think anybody listens to it, I know, but Magic Mike's is where it's at.
Well, I mean, with a name like that.
Oh my God, it's so good. So good. I was like, oh, this is the best. But yeah, that's our tangent.
Hmm.
How can you relate that to your next book with a
That's what I
segue?
was just
You're like,
like.
speaking of cinnamon rolls, this woman reminded me
I
of
was like,
cinnamon roll
speaking
in
of
the next book.
cinnamon rolls and Magic Mike, and
You never know.
no, I have no segue, and I was really just staring into the void thinking about food. So that's
I
really what was
know.
happening.
I know. I feel ya.
Not the vegetables that I ate. Oh well. Oh well.
Oh well.
How would I? Yeah, I mean, I don't have a segue, but this one is definitely a very confusing relationship.
Hmm.
In All the Dangerous Things by Stacey Willingham. 1 year ago, Isabel Drake's life changed forever. Her toddler son, Mason, was taken out of his crib in the middle of the night while she and her husband were asleep in the next room. With little evidence and few leads for the police to chase, the case quickly went cold. However, Isabel can't rest until Mason is returned to her, literally. Except for the occasional cat nap or small blackout where she loses track of time, she hasn't slept in a year. Her entire existence now revolves around finding him, but she knows she can't go on this way forever. In hopes of jarring loose a new witness or buried clue, she agrees to be interviewed by a true crime podcaster, but his interest in Isabel's past makes her nervous. His incessant questioning, paired with her severe insomnia, has brought up uncomfortable memories from her own childhood, making Isabel start to. I was like, do I see something moving? That's gonna be hilarious to look back and see. I thought
You're
something
gonna
was like
die when you're gonna die when you go back to edit that because I was literally like trying to be like Vanna White with a book because it was literally like it's the book that's like sitting on my desk right here. So when you
oh
said it,
my
I like picked it
gosh.
up and I was like doing this, but you didn't notice at first. So I was like,
I kept thinking something was reflecting off my glasses, and then I was like, no, I swear something's moving. Well, everyone
but you
who's
were like,
listening, go
and then
watch.
in her childhood. Like it was like getting caught by like the strict teacher, like cut your shit out.
Oh my god. And actually, like I was like thinking I was distracting myself. I was like, hey, get it together, focus. Like I was reprimanding myself.
Oh my god, that's so
Well,
funny.
um, uh, she starts doubting her recollection of the night of Mason's disappearance, as well as second guessing who she can trust, including herself. But she's determined to figure out the truth no matter where it leads. So, the description doesn't say anything about it, but it's not a spoiler to say that she and her husband have differing views on what happened to their
Mhm.
son, and it makes their relationship really complicated.
Yeah, I definitely don't think that's a spoiler. I recently read
No.
this and loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I don't think that's a spoiler.
Mm-mm.
I mean, so many true crime documentaries and things like that, when it comes to a missing child or a murdered child or anything like that, it's bound to weasel its way into
Yes.
your relationship and how, you know, sometimes it brings people together
Yeah.
more who were already like kind of drifting apart, and sometimes it causes them to drift apart, but you don't know
So
with this
hard.
one.
You don't
Yeah,
know. You do not know
no,
what's happening in this one.
I love that book.
It was very good.
I
It
think it's
got
going to
me
be one
out
of my
of
favorite ones.
a reading slump or
Same.
whatever I'm supposed to, whatever it is. I'd had multiple bad ones and or meh ones in a row.
Hmm.
And this one was amazing.
I really enjoyed that. um I also, I mean, I loved everything about it. I love the podcast aspect. I love the insomnia
Mhm.
aspect. There, we've talked about this before, but I mean, having the woman who drinks too much be an
Mhm.
unreliable narrator is annoying
Mhm.
as shit at this point.
Mhm.
I don't want to read any more books about that. So
Mhm.
having your unreliable narrator be somebody who's dealing with insomnia and having like a legitimate excuse as to why,
Yeah,
it was incredible.
it was so good. Really good. And it's like that was in this, it's also still not a spoiler to know it's like it's a problem. She's always had sleep issues.
Hmm.
So it's also not just like, oh, something bad happens and she becomes an unreliable narrator. Like
Right.
it's she's always dealt with it. So it's
Yeah.
just something she's always living with, kind of.
Hmm. A lot of layers in that plot and in that character.
I know. I'm
So good.
yes.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that one. And it's a newish
Very
release.
new. Yep.
So mad props to Stacey Willingham. I can't wait to see what her next book is like,
I know.
because I thought this one was completely different than her first one.
Very. Mm-hmm.
Because it's always exciting when you find a debut author that you like and then you read their second book to see if it's like gonna be like as good or like what their, like their vibe is
If
gonna
they're a
be.
one-trick pony, basically.
One trick pony, or sometimes some people get formulaic with their plots and it's
Mhm.
like, okay, I know that like so and so is going to do this and like whatever
Yeah.
percentage in, and it's
Yes.
just a different setting and a different character name
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But speaking of very interesting plots that you don't see every day in thrillers,
Mm.
I have one that I read. I've never stopped thinking about this book. And I don't know if I've ever talked about it on the podcast. So I'm very excited.
Whoa.
I read this book in like college, maybe high school. I'm not sure.
Mhm.
Um, and I thought about it and I thought about it and I thought about it and how good it would be as like a TV show and how twisted it is and how like I've never seen this in a thriller before. Um, but the book is called Heartsick by Chelsea Kane.
Okay.
Um, Damaged Portland detective Archie Sheridan spent 10 years tracking Gretchen Knoll. Gretchen Lowell. Um, I'm just thinking of Jessica Knoll because I love her so much, probably.
That probably is what it is.
Yeah, I think it is because her next book announcement's going to be out soon. Like
Yeah.
cover, title, all of that. So Jessica Knoll, I love you. But Archie Sheridan is tracking Gretchen Lowell, a beautiful serial killer, but in the end, she was the one who caught him. 2 years ago, Gretchen kidnapped Archie and tortured him for 10 days, but instead of killing him, she mysteriously decided to let him go. She turned herself in, and now Gretchen has been locked away for the rest of her life while Archie is in a prison of another kind. Addicted to pain pills, unable to return to his own life, powerless to get those 10 horrific days off his mind. Archie's a different person, his estranged wife says, and knows that she's right. He continues to visit Gretchen in prison once a week, saying that he can only get her to confess as to the whereabouts of more of her victims, but even he knows the truth. He can't stay away. When another killer begins snatching teenage girls off the streets of Portland, Archie has to pull himself together enough to lead the new task force investigating the murders. A hungry young newspaper reporter, Susan Ward, begins profiling Archie and the investigation, which sparks a deadly game between Archie, Susan, the new killer, and even Gretchen. They need to catch a killer, and maybe somehow then Archie can free himself from Gretchen once and for all.
I can't believe we've never talked about this. It sounds so good.
It's so good. I don't so there's like a little, I don't know. I don't know if this is like a spoiler or not, but I just really loved how she was, I mean, it says it in here like she was
Mhm.
the serial killer that he was tracking.
Mhm.
Um, but they were kind of seeing one another. Like he was cheating on his wife. This book's old, whatever. Like if you read it, you'll love it. But
Yeah.
he was he was cheating on his wife with this woman because she was like the psychologist working on the task force hunting a
Mhm.
serial killer, and he's like the hotshot detective. So not only was he having an affair on his wife with the psychologist of the task force hunting a serial killer, but then like finds out like she's the serial killer they've been hunting. And like she infiltrated her way into the task force to like lead them in a different direction so they wouldn't like catch wind that it was her.
It's kind of Dextery
It's so
without
dark,
without her killing bad people, maybe.
but she's like a hot serial killer. And even after she tortures him for 10 days, he's like visiting her in prison because like he's still in love with her. And it's
Is
like
it written
Portland.
from, is it like third person or is it written from either of their points of view?
I believe it's third person.
Okay. And did you read the series? Have you read all of them?
I read the series.
Nice.
I loved all of them.
All of them?
Hmm.
Wow. That's a lot. There are six of them, for
Yes.
anyone wondering.
Yes. I loved them to the point that a couple years ago, I reread Heartsick because it's one of those books that I'm always like, this was like so freaking complex and twisty and cool. And I
Hmm.
reread it on my Kindle and I was like, I wish I had all six of them in like paperback because like that would be
Hmm.
like a fun thing to like binge one
Yeah.
month or like one week that I had on vacation or something.
Yeah.
But yes, I loved like Chelsea Kane did not like, I think that she had six ideas in her mind. This was not like a let's keep this series going because we're selling a lot of
Okay.
it or because
Yep.
you know oh like this one sold a ton, like can you do a sequel, or like how they do with like
Mhm.
movies and books and everything
Yeah.
like that, TV shows and whatnot. But like I think that she had like six solid ideas as to where she could take these characters because
I
they're
love
very
that.
well developed.
Wow.
So
That
she
is
was
so
like,
cool.
yeah, it was such a good book and it's so twisty.
Mm.
One of my favorite tropes is like a copycat killer or wondering if it's a copycat killer or an
Mhm.
accomplice or whatnot. So like when you have a setting like Portland, like it's just like gritty and kind of like what we say about like San Francisco. Um, But yeah, it's just really good. And it's like a hidden gem, I think,
Oh
if you
my
will,
gosh.
because they're like older, but yeah, they're really good. I love them.
I have to read that. That sounds so
I'll read it with you.
intriguing. Yeah.
Yeah, like when you pick it up. It's honestly, it's such a good book club pick too.
Oh, I bet. With
I
the right
am not
people.
I'm not part of any book club. Like you're my book club. So
Yeah. Same.
I say book club as in like, oh my God, it would be such a good buddy read for us, but like it would also be like really good for like a book club or a buddy read with your bestie
Hmm.
or whatever. But
Hmm.
yeah, it's definitely like if you like the movie Basic Instinct, then you'll like this.
I still need to watch that too.
Oh my God.
I know. I know.
Well, this has been fun. I'm gonna
Go
go,
watch it. You're like, I'm gonna go finish Ginny and Georgia.
I'm gonna go, oh my God, I know. Um yeah, I might watch Basic Instinct this weekend
Maybe I will too.
and then start Heartsick. Oh my
You
God.
should.
Oh my God, I'm sold.
Cool. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
I'll have plenty of time to read Ninth House.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I need to pick out my next read. I have
Yeah, I
10
need to
pages
get
left of
into
Finley
this one.
Donovan
I'm still like 18 pages in. So like I'm still not like into it, but
of Ninth House.
yeah.
I think I was between page 50 and 100 before I was like,
Yeah, like there's a lot that I have like no clue what's happening yet. And I'm
yep.
just trying to remember
The
everything.
beginning is very confusing with
It's like it
the,
just throws you in there.
so like the grays, like you know what a gray is, right?
Yeah, but
It's like a
they don't tell
ghost.
you until after they've already talked about them.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like once like that happened, it was like easier for me. But yeah, as you,
Uh-huh.
it's just a little literary in the beginning.
Yeah.
And
And I didn't know what a
not a lot's going
pro-
on.
Prostination. I can't even remember what that weird P word is.
See, I don't even remember that, but I
When they
loved it.
cut people open and like move their organs around, there's like a big P word for it. And I was like, I don't know what this word is yet.
That was only in the beginning. You don't have to deal with
It
that the
never
rest of the
happens.
book.
That's really good because what
I
was
was the same
funny
way.
was like
I was,
I'm having just like more like mucus. So then I wake up and my stomach will be a little bit upset from the drainage. So I was
mhm.
trying to read it this morning and it was like all this gross like body descriptions and stuff. And I was like, I really hope this doesn't happen a lot in the book. And because like I was almost like, shit, is this not a
No,
good book for me? So I actually
no.
am excited to hear that that doesn't keep happening.
There's definitely some more like gory
Right.
stuff, understandably, but no, there's not anything else like that. No,
That's good. That's good to know.
no, ma'am. No,
Because
ma'am.
the
Mm-mm.
second book cover is like so creepy looking, and I was like, oh boy. But I
I,
think I like it. I think I'm gonna
yeah,
like it
I
a
really
lot.
love them. I think that it's just that thing of I really love it, but I can't really tell you a whole ton of what I know, like a general idea as to what happened, but
Yeah,
no,
I
no,
know.
not
That's
the
what a
rest
lot
of
of
that.
people's reviews are like about it. So
Yeah.
finish that up, and then we can get heartsick.
Mm, 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 mm.
My last one is actually part of a series too.
Ooh,
Well, and the second one comes out this summer, basically. So it hasn't come out, but it's on its way. But
okay.
it is Alias Emma by Ava Glass, which I definitely talked about before. Emma Makepeace is about to spend the longest night in her life. She's on her first operation with a shadowy organization known only as the Agency, assigned to track down and save an innocent man wanted by the Russian government. All Emma has to do is bring him into MI6 before sunrise and before an assassination team gets to him first. But the Russians have hacked the city's CCTV cameras. There are spies all over London searching for the two of them, and her target, Michael Primolov, doesn't want to be rescued. As London sleeps, a battle is taking place on its streets as Emma fights to keep Michael alive. But what sort of reception await them if and when they get to MI6? Also, not
Okay.
really spoiler to say that she kind of starts to like, she and Michael start to like each other. It's a very fun spy novel. And then it's also fun that the gender roles are flipped. So it's like he has no clue how to survive, and she's like teaching him how to like go through the tunnels of London and like beating people up to protect him, and he's just like wide-eyed. But then they get really close to each other, and it literally, the whole book takes place in like 16 hours overnight.
That's cool. I
um
like that.
and it's just like, it's, I would say, so I know like kind of what you don't end up liking about spy thrillers is like politics and that stuff.
Hmm.
I would say this is just like a really fun, like almost feel like more like a race against the clock action
Okay.
book. Because there are, and it's mainly her. Like she and Michael are the main characters. So like you're also not keeping track of multiple people. You're just like trying to escape across London with them. And I think they might be my favorite book relationship ever. I don't know
Oh.
why, but I loved it. I just loved them. And we don't know if they're ever going to see each other again based on the ending, but there is a second book coming out in August. And it's definitely one of my most anticipated reads this year.
Dang. The cover is gorgeous. I looked it up.
There are two, because it's like the UK cover is a little different, and both
Oh,
of them
okay.
are so cool. So yeah,
Damn.
action packed, and then there's like just enough of a little love interest that I remembered it from an action packed book.
Sold.
Yeah, if you think you could be mildly interested in a spy book, this would be the one to
This is
try
the
out.
one.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Yeah.
I also like when, like you said, like the roles are like reversed.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think you would like that book 11 by Kylie Brandt.
Oh, really?
My lights just flickered. Yes, I think you would really like the book 11 by Kylie Brandt because there's a lot of action in the beginning.
Oh, okay. Was that the one you DNF'd though?
Hmm.
Okay.
It
Okay.
wasn't, it wasn't like based on the synopsis, like what I was reading was not
Mm-hmm.
what I was in the mood for. I was in the mood for
I
more
get
what
that.
the book was based on the synopsis and what the book was based on what the book was.
I get
But
that.
I think you will really enjoy that one.
Mm.
Because there
It's
is like
true.
action, and I can kind of, I think there might be more to it that would be more up your alley than mine.
Yeah, that makes
Which is a lot
sense.
nicer than what I said to my friend Cindy once, because I was like reading a book. I didn't mean for it to come off this bitchy, but she still makes fun of me to this day. But I was like, I think I'm gonna DNF this book, but it's probably right, like it's probably up your alley, or like
Yeah.
something to that effect. Like I was like, I'm not gonna finish this, but I think you'll love it, as I think what I
Yeah.
said.
Yeah.
And she was just like, that sounds so bitchy, even though I know exactly what you
Yeah.
mean. But I was like, I'm gonna DNF this, but you'll probably love it. Like, oh, this isn't good enough for
Yes.
me, but it'll probably be perfect for
Yes.
you.
That's what I'm always like. I talk to my sister-in-law about that sometimes though, because like she would never read anything I read, and like I would never
Right.
read anything she would. And
Hmm.
so like sometimes she'll be like, would I like that TV show? And I'm like, no, I loved it, but it's not for you. And then I'm sometimes I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't mean it to sound mean. And she's like, no, it doesn't sound mean, but like I could see how with the wrong person it like sounds like you would like it, but it's just knowing what people like.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like when you take thrillers, like if you have like a spy one, or like
Mhm.
political vibes, or cults, or things like that, like that's definitely like your vibe. And like with me, it's like serial killers,
Mhm.
police procedural,
Yep.
um, romantic
Love and
suspense.
monsters.
Oh my God, I know.
as
Love and
a
Monsters, literally.
genre itself.
Yeah, yeah. So I like a little steam with my thrillers, whether it's like in the plot, or, if it's just sexy, sexy.
Yes.
Speaking of, If
Nice.
you want a little steam in your thriller
Uh-huh.
and um an unconventional storyline that I would say could be like a thriller remake of Pretty Woman.
Mm.
We're talking about The Arrangement by Robin Harding, one of my favorite women in thrillers. I love her. Um, Natalie is a young art student in New York City who is struggling to pay her bills when her friend makes a suggestion. Why not go online and find a sugar daddy? A wealthy older man who will pay her for dates and even give her a monthly allowance. Lots of girls do it, Nat learns. All that's required is to look pretty and hang on to his every word. Sexual favors optional. Though more than 30 years her senior, Gabe, a handsome corporate finance attorney, seems like the perfect candidate. And within a month, they are madly in love. Well, at least Nat is. Gabe already has a family whom he has no intention of leaving, so when he abruptly ends things, Nat can't let go. She begins drinking heavily and stalking him, watching him at work, spying on his wife, even befriending his daughter, who is not much younger than she is. But Gabe's not about to let his sugar baby destroy his perfect life. What was supposed to be a mutually beneficial arrangement devolves into a nightmare of deception, obsession, and when a body is found near Gabe's posh Upper East Side apartment, murder.
I haven't read that one.
Ah, it's
And
so
that
good.
sounds amazing too.
It's so good. So, so, so good. Yes. All Robin
You
Harding
have a
books are
lot of good
fantastic.
recommendations.
I had a
What'd you
lot of
say?
books today that I did not, that I've never talked about.
Yeah. I
Could
had
you
a
imagine if
couple.
I was like Jar of Hearts, the
Oh my
woman
gosh, I almost
inside?
made a joke when you introed Heartsick and you were like, this is one I actually haven't talked about at all on the podcast. I think I was about to be like the woman inside.
I think it's like the woman inside Jar of Hearts.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's like a third one that I like talk about all the time.
Maybe not.
Luckiest
I
Girl
talk about
Alive.
Kismet and the Paradox Hotel a lot.
Mhm. I think
And
you'll
then we
like the
have the
Robin
ones we
Harding.
just always talk about.
Yeah. Robin Harding takes like, when you watch like a Lifetime movie and you're
Hmm.
like, ooh, this sounds really good. And then you watch it and you're
Hmm.
like, the synopsis sounded better than what I got when I watched the movie.
Yeah.
It's like Robin Harding takes those plots of like, you know, things that you don't usually see in a thriller, but like they're really fucking good.
Yeah.
Like she exceeds your expectations based on what the synopsis is instead of like lets you down.
Yes. I
She's
have still only
brilliant.
read one of hers.
Her
I
pretty
read the
face.
swap, and then I have her
Love the
pretty
swap.
face on my
Love the
list from
swap.
when we talked about her last, but I did not
Yes.
have the arrangement on my list. So I need
The
to
swap.
go on a Robin Harding
Oh, you will
bender.
not regret it. I think she's
I
really good
know.
for like spring and summer.
Okay. Yeah. I remember the swap having very summery vibes.
Yeah. I love the swap. I love the arrangement. I love her pretty face. The perfect family.
That one's good too.
So good.
I need to read them all.
And her new one comes out this summer.
I know. I requested that one. We'll
I got
see.
an my art came in this week
That's so
because
exciting.
she told her publisher like send him one.
Oh, that's awesome.
She's amazing. Yeah, you will love 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 her books.
I'm excited for because for some reason that just reminded me that Samantha Downing's next one is actually called A Twisted Love Story.
Hmm.
It'd be good for our theme too, but
Yeah,
I
major
have not
shout
read
out to Samantha Downing. She
it yet.
does
Mhm.
really fucked up relationships really well.
Yes, she does. I know.
She's
That's where I
amazing.
was like, I can't say my lovely wife. Like, I think we've talked about it 2 weeks in a row.
Right, right. I I'll just also use this to plug Seeing Strangers by Sebastian J. Plata because
Hmm.
that's another one that has like it deals with an open marriage,
Hmm.
but they're getting ready to close their marriage because these two men are they're gonna have a baby. So like
Hmm.
the surrogate's like ready to pop and like, the one man says to the other man, like, once this baby comes, no more of this. Like, it's just you, me, and
Mhm.
our baby. So the other guy's like, I'm gonna fuck as many people in New York City as I can before this baby comes. And it's like, be careful who you let in your bedroom.
Yeah.
Yep. Sometimes things get a little dangerous when you are putting the booty on duty.
You are full of the best rhymes tonight.
So
Dicking and tricking is how we started it off.
tricks and decks. Booty on duty. Yeah.
Yeah, that one's on my list too because you make me want to read it every time you talk about it.
That was gonna be my icebreaker. But I guess it could be my like
Ice Ender.
ice ender. Yeah. Is that do you only keep track of your TBR digitally through Goodreads, or do you have like lists on your phone or anything like that?
Just Goodreads.
Just Goodreads? That's amazing. I
Mhm.
want to try to do that. I have lists everywhere
Yeah.
on my phone.
Yeah.
I'm a
Any of the
psycho.
times we've talked about like reading certain ones, I'll probably keep a list of that, but otherwise, no, I don't have any other lists.
Oh my God, my list is crazy. I'm like
List.
I use it in the notes app on my iPhone,
Oh, okay.
and it's like series I want to read, authors I want to check out, and then there's the crazy Tracy Crosswhite series. Um Everything I have on NetGalley, and when the like deadline is like before they
Mhm.
um what do you call
Archive
it?
it.
Archive it. Yep, thank you.
Mhm.
Then I have like things that I want to read in January that I didn't get to yet. So like those will be like now backlist.
Yeah.
February, I have planned out March, and then I have all of my arcs, male romance, heterosexual romance, books that I bought on my Kindle that were just like a good deal. Um,
They do have good deals.
and then like a bunch of like authors and a bunch of backlist things, and then all of the arcs that I got in 2022 that I like wasn't in the mood for but decided to like go back to at a later date.
Yeah, I don't plan that
Psycho.
far ahead.
Psycho.
I mostly it's like if I have net galleys, I'm paying attention when those are going to come out and then I read
Yeah.
it at like a month-ish before or sooner. Um but I have thought about making more shelves on Goodreads so that I could have some more organization,
Hmm.
especially because I don't read much nonfiction either. So if I do, it's because I'm like, oh, that was a topic I was interested in, or like, oh, maybe that audiobook will be good. But I would say like 5% of what I read each year is nonfiction, and I only
Hmm.
listen to it. So I need
Right.
just a separate list for when I'm like, oh, what was that audiobook I thought I might listen to? So I have been thinking about making more shelves.
Oh, I like that idea.
And then I can make a Gare shelf.
Yeah, and then there could be like a Gear Buddy read shelf.
Yeah.
Because like sometimes we'll be like, oh, I really want to read this book, and you're like, well, I have it on NetGalley, and I'm like, I do too, and we'll be
Yeah.
like, let's read it together,
Uh-huh.
or we'll be like, I'll recommend a book to you and be like, oh my God, I love this book so much, and you're like, I want to read it, and I'm like, I'll read it with you, like I'll read it
Yeah.
again when you read it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that'd be fun.